everyone, Mayuri here. Today I'm going to talk about my experience at the Sentinel's Vanguard tournament at Campus Game Fest, Singapore. The Sentinel Games Vanguard tournament at Campus Game Fest is a tournament that consisted of some of the better players in the Singapore Vanguard community. I guess mixed of casual players and competitive, but mostly the Sentinel community. It fell on the same day as Vietnam BCS, so I think there were several players that maybe would have showed up but didn't because they were away. So that is like something to note. It was a tournament that was 5 rounds Swiss with a top 8 card, and the prizes were up to top 16. I personally ended up 15th place in Swiss, and I'm gonna talk a bit about like my deck choice, some of the matchups, as well as what I was looking out for, as well as the overall experience. Yep. So for this tournament in particular, there were a few decks that I was anticipating to be considered threats. Those decks were namely Prison, Youthberg, Crystalline Cadenza, Haluru, Minerva, and lastly Virgila. For this tournament, I opted to bring Virgila as I felt that it was my best possible deck choice that I could bring based on the cards that I currently own. Honestly, I kind of wanted to bring Babsagra, but like I already brought Babsagra a lot of times this year, so I kind of want to redeem myself from my god-awful Virgila run during the GP, so yeah. So anyways, we are going into the deck list. With all those considerations in mind, I did tag in a few stuff specifically for the matchups, so let's go over what they are. First of all, going into the right line itself, I actually play one Babsagra FR starter. This is the old one, which doesn't work with the new right line, by the way, like the Babsagra Aksaya right line. I had several people ask me, oh my gosh, are you playing Babsagra? I'm like, no, I can't, yeah. One great one Virgila from the right line. Has a Virgila name, very good ride-up skill of just so blasting out. Yeah, simple. One grade 2 Virgila, this one gains crit if you show a Virgila in your right deck and you have 4 more rears, and has a good on-right skill. If the grade 3 rides on top of it, you can search your deck for any grade 2 depending on the situation and or the matchup, so a little bit of brain there. And yeah, be happy. Last but not least, the grade 3 Virgila, this is the alt-art one that my friend let me use. Very nice guy. And this ability is you EB3 to resurrect one card from your drop zone as a grade 2, as well as bind one from your opponent's board. Removal plus resurrection, really good card. And on swing, of course, you can CB1 to stand a grade 2 unit, but most of the time you will not be using that skill because you will be on Alfknights. So that's the right line. Now going into the grade 3s itself, first of all, I am running 2 copies of Persona Right. Honestly, I considered running 3 and during testing, I think 3 might be the better call. Ironically, because I'm running 2 maybe, I didn't actually Persona Right a single time during the 5 rounds of Swiss that I played today, and there were like, I think 2 of the games that actually discarded this for either a PG or write-up, or it was damage checked. So didn't Persona Right a single time today. Maybe if I ran 3 I could have, but most of my games ended on either turn 3 or 4. So if I was going to Persona Right, I would only have Persona Road once. Yeah. Maybe it's the nature of the matchups. We'll talk a little bit about those in afterwards. Yes. But only 2 Persona Rights. Yes. Next up, of course, the main big boy himself. 4 copies of Alfknights. You don't see this, handshake your opponent, you are not going to win. I mean, you still can, but it's very difficult. So what does Alfknights do? Why is this card so freaking good? This is a 1 card solve all your problems kind of card. So what it does is, main phase, if you're on Virgila and your opponent's grade 3, you can bind the Virgila Vanguard in order to jump to your Alfknights or ride your Alfknights. What it then does is you can search your deck for 1 Galaxian unit to call, and you can search for 1 of the Virgila orders, I'm forgetting the correct naming of it, to add to your hand. There are 2 current Virgila orders. You can add any one of the 2. Running your deck for drop, by the way, for both. So that's really good. In addition, your front row gains 5k on that place for every Alfknights currently in your soul. And on swing, you can CB1 to drive +1 and stand your front row rear guards. Very strong card. You really want to see this, and that's why we run a decent amount of searches to try and dig for it. Yes. If you don't see it on turn 3 and you're going second, it becomes a little bit of a problem, not gonna lie. Next up is 2 copies of Vanguard. This card's ability is on place. You get to Soul Blast 1 and pump either 5k or 10k, depending on if your opponent's grade 3 or not, to itself and an Ezreal on your board. And then at the end of the turn, if you play the Vegeta order, any one of them, it can go into Soul in order for you to countercharge 1 as well as draw 1. It's a very good card and very, very strong card. The reason why we only play 2 is because it is degoutable by your Alfknights. And the scary part, I think, is if one of them hits the damage zone, it becomes a bit difficult to loop, because like one will go in, you call the second one, you Soul Blast it out, this will go in and then like repeat, right? So essentially, as long as you have both in rotation, you're good to go. Yep. Just if it goes in the damage zone, honestly, skill issue. Yep. So those were the grade 3s, and now going into the grade 2s. First of all, we have 4 copies of Sid Ezreal. This is the card that this Vanguard will target, and this is like, I guess, the main card for the Vegeta deck in general. What this card does is, it has no text, it's just, you need to have a Vegeta Vanguard, and all it does is, it's a grade 2 that's 15k shield and 15k power. What more do you want? Like, honestly, just good card. It's a grade 2, so you either can search it out or you can like resurrect it from drop. Alright, and that was the only 4 of grade 2 I have. The rest are all one-off, so let's go by one. First of all, 1 copy of Variance Ray. What this card does is, as long as you're on Vegeta Vanguard, this card gets plus 5k shield. Very useful for the early guarding as well as early intercepts. Second effect is, if it is in the drop zone, you can bind it in order to give your Ezreal currently on the board plus 5k power or shield until the end of your opponent's next turn, as well as give it the cannot be chosen effect. Very useful when playing against stuff like Prison, which is why I choose to play it. Why I only play as one-off is because it's searchable. So like, honestly, if I really need it, I'll just search it on turn 3. Yeah, either I can just like hopefully find it. It's a grade 2. The keyword is, or the keynote is, it must be a grade 2 for to be a one-off, in my opinion. Yeah. Next up is N-Wing. 1 copy as well. What this card does is, if you're on a grade 3 Vegeta, this card is a 15k shield. And what it also does is, assuming that it's on your board for some reason and you really need to swing with it, every time an Ezreal swings, she gains plus 5k. So that's useful, right? If like your Ezreal swings twice, this unit basically gets 5k. Yep. And on place, you can EB3 if you're on a grade 3 Vegeta to bind something. So if grade 3 Vegeta binds something with EB3, you can use another EB3 to bind something. And since it's a grade 2, you can resurrect this for a quick double removal. Yeah, sometimes it's sometimes you really need it, you know. Next up for solo grade 2s, we have of course the Ace unit. Similar to the N-Wing, except being shieldless, this card is a EB3. Say no to 1 card other than Estacion token. I saw someone try to do it today. This doesn't solve Estacion token. EB3, say 1 card no, and as well as draw 1 plus 5k if you swing into a grade 3 plus 5k if you remove something plus 5k. So can be a decent number. Most of the times you are either rushing with this on turn 2 or using it as a very pesky Veilord removal or a emergency removal. 9 out of 10 times you are not going to be swinging with this, and your board state is going to still be Ezreal, Vanguard. Yeah. So once again, I mean, this one is a forced one-off, it's an Ace unit, right? Next up for one of grade 2s, I play 1 copy of Desolate Spark Dragon. Why I choose to play this card is really interesting. So what does Desolate Spark do? Desolate Spark is a card that if you Persona Road this turn, whenever it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose an opponent's rear card and retire it. Then this card gets plus 5k, and your opponent chooses 3 normal units in their drop zone to go to bind phase up. The reason why I suddenly decided to play this card is, originally I was playing this more in Basagra meta, because during BSF I was playing Basagra and my Vegeta opponent actually played this card and screwed me over by binding all my moons and Cindy's and all that, because I literally cannot give it like my triggers and stuff. This will force a player to bind normal units only. So it's kind of similar to like that Stego that some other Nui guy plays. Yeah. Yeah, so this is kind of like for that reason. It kind of fell off However, because Basagra stopped being super popular, and I was wondering whether or not to cut this card for something else. Why this card I chose to like keep it like stay in the deck is because there are a few targets that I am trying to hit. One of the targets is, for example, Chris Cadenza, where on the off chance that I can buy on the resource and stuff, this is useful. Or if I'm binding Haluru's toys units in their drop zone, which means that they cannot like cycle through them, because this is essentially a removal and bind total of 6. If you include the Vanguard bind, it is like 7 bind, which can sometimes be very, very helpful, especially if you go first, because the problem of this is you must persona, right? So sometimes it can be a bit iffy. So this is kind of like a really hit or miss card, but like I'd rather have that option rather than not having the option at all. That is kind of overall why I chose to play it. Yeah, I will admit I didn't come up with this idea. It was invented by, I think, some other Vietnamese player that I happened to play against, and I lost to that guy. So steal, yeah, just stealing ideas. Next up, we have one copy of the Soul Blast Order as well as one copy of the Counter Blast Order. What the Soul Blast Order does is you just Soul Blast 1, give Azure plus 10k, and when it stands, if you Persona Road this turn, or if your opponent has 3 or more cards in a bind zone, the Azure gets plus 1 crit. Very simple. Kind of more used for like finishing off. If you're up into Brang Maya, this will work if they have like 4 face down as well. So very useful for that matchup. This one is even better in my opinion. This one is a CB1 to top 5 and call anything as long as like equal grade to your Vanguard, and then afterwards your Vanguard gets plus 3k for every normal unit on board and in drop. So very useful. Yep. This is mostly the late game order that you play, and this is more like the early game order to make your Vanguard a little bit beefier with the 3 drives, right? Next up, we have one copy of Defensive Roll. This is basically like a DE second Regalis piece at this point, so really very useful. And the fact that these are all great tools, notice that they're all one-offs. The fact that this is a great tool and searchable one-off means that if I opened my Overtrigger in hand, I can just like dig this out on turn 3 with my right line and say, I basically have 2 PGs, right? Like not actually, but kinda. You know, this is just how strong Searching Raw can be. Last but not least, what great tools is the actual Regalis piece itself. I'm running Union Sky. I used to be running Twin Cast, but I recently started switching to the Sky for a few reasons actually. I noticed that some deck lists like to run Farhat. I choose to not run the Farhat, and that's kind of where the space for Desolate Spark comes from. The EB3 for the actual like cycle card effect does come in handy sometimes. Very rarely. This is more for like guarding, and also another reason why I opted to do that is because in my head, right, like, do I want a 15k shield or a flat 25k shield draw 1 these days? Like 15 to 25k shield, because I can like bind a same name Vanguard from my drop in order to gain an extra 10k shield, right? I feel like the flat 25k shield these days could matter more. And the player that I kind of drew inspiration from this from is like, I think it was Mervin, because I saw Mervin's list and he was like running this Union the Sky, where else I was on Twin Class and he had more success. So kind of inspiration from that as well. Yeah. Next up for the grade 1s, first of all, I am running 4 copies of Shenri. Used to be on 2, now I run 4 because I feel that with Prison coming back, and I kind of want more soul in order to like Soul Blast out stuff in order to spawn stuff from my prison and stuff. Today in particular, for example, during my matchup into a prison player, I opened 3 Shenris and it was insanely strong to say the least, especially because like you can guarantee the proc. Early game, sometimes people don't call stuff and you can guarantee the proc, and you want to proc it as early as possible, else you are playing orders on every Alfknight turn anyway, so the Shenri is like confirmed going to proc anyways. Really strong card. Recommend for Shenri in this day and age. Afterwards, I play 3 Namin. You can play this at 4, but I do only own 3, so that's the main reason why. I do have a replacement for the 4th one, so it's not like the Shenris took the slot. This one is very simple, it's 13k and has a CB1 effect on place. For you top 7 and look for a grade 3. Really, really good card, and Helps you find your Alfknights during main phase in case you are like me that picks it very often. Yeah, imagine having a deck that relies on only one card and you can't find it. And that's why you run more of this. So instead, since I only own 3, I bump this guy up to 3. This is DinoFest. Now for English players, you guys will get it eventually in the, I think, Skywrite manga. For Japanese players, what this card does is, at the end of the boost, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, or you retired something this turn, either via swing into it or retire effects, you can bind this card for you to top 5 and look for a grade 2 or higher card to add to your grade 2 or higher unit card to add to your hand. Don't cheat, don't add Blitz Orders. Or a Dino Dragon. You can add Raptor if you're playing like Raptor Vanguard, for example, and add it to your hand. So what I like to do with this early is like I'll just like boost with this if I don't have the Shenri or whatnot. So like this or Shenris are excellent early game boosters in order to like top 5 for, since you're targeting grade 2s or higher. So many good grade 2 targets, right? Like you can target your Ace unit, the Variance Ray. Wow, you can target your Ezra like to add to hand. That's 15k shield for like you're just binding this. It doesn't cost counterblast. That's so good. Add the Fanvare, add the Persona Ride, or add the Alfknights. Amazing card. This is insane card in Virgila. Japanese players have started cutting this down to like 1 or 0. I opt to play this because I think that since this card can kind of disappear, it can somewhat be useful in prison matchup where, since you're not like taking it, but can be a bit iffy. Yeah, but this guy's job is just to like boost, disappear, get me value, trade 1 for 1 basically. Yep. Next up, of course, that was basically the core. Now we go into like PGs and triggers. I'm playing 4 normal PGs because I'm playing 2 Blitz Orders and I have absolute fear of getting the Sang stuck. This is kind of ironic considering I talk about how like 2 or more problems with Aluru, possibly playing to Prison and Minerva and not playing Sang does come as a bit of an issue. This one is kind of preference. I think personally, because I play Doji a lot, I'm kind of used to not playing Sang, so I'm not like super worried. This still needs a bit more testing. Maybe I'll go back to Sang. I'm not 100% sure just yet. Did not give me issues though today. At least that's what my feeling is. And next up, okay, we can get this one out of the way easily. Drag Vader for over trigger. I don't need to explain this. Don't even bother asking. Yeah. Next up, we play. I play 7 critical triggers. I play 4 of the sew-in ones because no chance you need sew-in stuff. I don't know why you would need to, but sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, and just 3 normal crits. This one is FR, it's cool, and it's stealth crit, so it's good. Next up, the reason why I play 7 crits is because I play 2 draws and 2 fronts. Now, 2 draws and 2 fronts is a bit skeptical, but honestly, just be skilled and check whatever you need whenever you need it. Obviously, just drive check fronts and damage check draws. Is that really so hard? Don't start typing in comment section. I see those hands. Yeah, so basically just be skilled. And the real reason for the fronts is because, as you notice, we are not playing Flare Cosmog, so it's kind of suspect sometimes for like power. And this is a comment also made by Mervin, so honestly kind of stealing a bit of his concept there, where I kind of agree with him, where since you're not playing the Flare Cosmog, your numbers are sometimes a little bit suspect at times, so checking the front is a bit better to help with that. Yeah. Also, being a 20k shield is very useful, especially in Virgila, where a lot of your shield values are in iterations of 10s or 15s. So these draw triggers can help to like draw you 15s, but if your opponents are swinging you for like 30, it does get awkward. So I do play 2 fronts for that, and then I still opt to play draws is because like honestly just be skilled and damage at draws, bro. Because like 10k shields are still useful. Yeah. Next up, here comes the suspect one. So today, this is where I say I really was targeting those particular matchups. I play 2 restand heals because everything restands in set mat in like these days. You perk restands, one of exists, Haluru has great restands, Minerva has restands, Cadenza technically has restands with Rochelle and all that, and I would have played 4, but I couldn't find my last 2 restand heals as of now. So in the past I was running 2 regular heals, but today I decided to be a bit more Giga Chat. I run 2 crit heals instead. 2 crit effect heals. And this is a bit controversial, but hear me out, boys. Hear me out, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. So if Haluru is swinging me with that Dino guy, technically against crit, this solves, right? That's number 1. If Cadenza is swinging me, this will definitely solve the problem, right? This does not solve Minerva, it does not solve stuff. If Exist is swinging with crits, this can bail me out as well, because this doesn't work into Exist except for the restanding unit, but this works on the Exist Vanguard that's only drive 1, so this can come in clutch. That was my thought process. But another thing that was a factor was because this is a Sentinel tournament. There's a couple of EVA players, you know who you are if you're watching this. Yes, I did kind of prepare this kind of just for you, on the off chance that I did fight you. Yeah, just in case. EVA players, yeah. So those were the main considerations. Did this come in handy? We'll talk about the matchups next, and I'll explain when it was good and when it was bad. So going into the matchups itself, now that we've gone through the deck, comment your ideas on whether or not what you would have changed, what you think is good, what you think is bad, or just scream at me if you think like I'm crazy. Yeah. So going into the matchups myself, the first round I fought into my friend Tristar, one of Sentinel's poster boys, Travis North, and he was on prison. Very unfortunate. He bricked. I did go second, blind, after winning dice roll. Unfortunately, he bricked, so I kind of just like rolled over him on the first Alfknights turn, because his turn 3 was quite abysmal, and he basically owned his turn 4 was basically right into pure light, lifeful into lifeful into lifeful into clear light, 3 swings on 9 prison. Yeah, we don't need to talk about it. And he checked 3 blanks on the triple drive, so nothing much to see there. It was just a kind of a brick moment. Game 2, I matched into an Odeon player and I went second. We don't talk about it. Next up, on round 3, I fought into Isaac, one of Singapore's more, I think, popular? Is he popular? I don't know. One of Singapore's more recognizable premium players. He plays cringe decks such as Narukami, I think EDD, he was talking a lot about it. Gredora, yeah, he plays those cringe decks. And then today he was playing a not as cringe deck. Today he was playing Vaga. And very unfortunate for him, I prepared 2 restand heals and a defensive raw for his divine turn. However, on the first swing, since I was on 4 damage, I took the hit and I damage checked Drag Vader. Nothing to see here. Yeah. Next up for my matchup, I fought into a Cadenza player, and unfortunately I knew he was playing Cadenza because I was sitting beside him earlier. So after winning dice roll, I opted to go first instead of second, because I felt that if I went second into Cadenza, the first grade 3 turn of Cadenza, I wouldn't be able to survive. I might have eaten up too much and then just kind of just G-Babu on a Spock. How the matchup kind of went was I managed to push him on turn 2 because I had 4 rear guards, and then my grade 2 right line basically said 18k crit 2, and he threw a Sank on that turn in order to PG to my Vanguard. He proceeded on his turn 2 to check a blue OT, which is basically a crit trigger since I no guarded, but he couldn't take back the PG because it was a Sank, right? So that was very unfortunate. He got nothing else to take back. Then on the divine skill turn, I just kind of threw this at him, and it like the 2 crit heals, and then he was like, "What the hell, you run crit heals?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Respect Cadenza." And yep, so this immediately built me out of a Cadenza matchup. It was basically free from there. Yep. Last but not least, my final matchup, which was the last matchup I lost, was into Minerva. This was against a guy, Illusion is Tired, who eventually got second place for the tournament. Congrats, man. It was a great game. It was very fun for me. I lost the dice roll, so I opted to go second. And in this matchup, there's a tendency for Vegila to not ride up. So you have to learn how to grade 2 game. I did practice this in advance, so I was prepared. However, during the grade 2 game, I think things just didn't really go my way. And there was a lot of mind games, because like there were times where like he left the top he left the card on top with Cocoa early, and I would suspect that it's a trigger. Then he drive checks is actually a Vivani, stuff like that. Like, it was actually really fun to play those mind games. And there was one time where he left the card on top, and then he draws with the Dissection Angel before the drive check, and I was like, oh, so technically you don't know the top card now. And then he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that means it has to be a perfect card. And then like after the game he goes like, yeah, it actually was a perfect card. So, you know, there was a lot of mind games. In the end I lost because unfortunately he rolled up to grade 3 first when I was on like 5 card hand, and I felt that I could survive, but a double critical check on the twin drive meant that I was forced to use 2 perfect guards in that turn, meaning that I was forced to ride up with only 1 card in hand, go into Alfknights, and I couldn't stabilize for the incoming grade 4 turn that would proceed to stomp my ass. So any check blue OT. So it was really fun, and that was basically it for my tournament run. I ended up being 15 with a 3-2 score, which I personally was satisfied because I didn't break the Alfknights at all this tournament. That is pretty much all for like my Sentinel experience. Overall, the tournament was a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you to Sentinel for hosting a tournament. The staff is always really fun. The community at Sentinel is really fun. I think I saw like Big J was like casting the matches, and my buddy Kurumi Please even went 5-0 in Swiss on the U-Buck, trying to prove a point. So yeah, congrats to my friends that made it, and hope to play some more of the tournaments and stuff. This was also my first time like doing one of these more like vlogging type videos, and I'm gonna learn a lot from editing this one, especially from like this single take. So overall, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I hope to attend another Sentinel tournament in future, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.